following message is brought to you by Mike Koplitz. He is an ordained elder in the United Methodist Church and an ordained Messianic rabbi. In the Gospel, Luke chapter 8, verses 4 to 15, we have a famous parable of the sower of the seed and an explanation from the Bible of what it means. Now, Jesus was the best parable teacher of all the rabbis of his times and of today. And in order to understand the parable of the sower, we have to look at what each of the four types of seed is referring to. The seeds that fell upon the path that were eaten by the birds are people who grow up without the word of the Lord. These people would not understand what it means to live in the world according to the Torah. Therefore, they would grow up and do whatever they pleased. These people would not have any moral or ethical problem with murdering someone whom they disagreed with, or if they coveted something their neighbor possessed. Therefore, upon their death, this soul would be placed in the hollow for the murdered. The seeds that withered in the sun would be the sinners. These people would have learned about the Torah, however, their study of the Torah would be superficial. They would not understand the truths of the Lord's words and would sin against the Lord. Because they didn't know any better, they would go into the sinner's hollow upon death. The people who were seeds that the weeds choked off would be non-pious people. These were Judeans who were influenced by the Greco-Roman style, and they preferred it over the lifestyle of living by the way the Lord created his people, defined by the Torah. The seeds that grew on the good soil are the righteous people who follow the laws of the Torah, and when they die, they will go into the hollow of the righteous. The hollows for the sinners and evil people can be rearranged in several orders. Jesus' parable of the four types of people give us a stern warning that it is imperative not to be a sinner. This is done by one's behavior in studying the Lord's words so that one knows how the Lord expects from us. Jesus offers this parable as a complement to the book of the Watchers, 1 Enoch, chapter 1 to 36. Now, Enoch said that he wrote this book to warn his children and the generations to come about what happens if you don't obey the Lord. It doesn't matter which hollow one goes into upon death. Enoch and righteous, let me take that back. It does matter which of these four hollows you go into upon death, because Enoch and Jesus said that the righteous hollow is where you want to be when your life on the earth is complete. Now, what do we do with all these explanations? Well, the answer is basic, and that is that there are more paths to evil in the world than there are righteous. Wow. That sounds sorrowful to say, but when you look at the world today, it's pretty obvious that there are more paths to evil. One thing that is very disturbing is that the news broadcasts and newspapers are more interested in telling us of the bad things that are happening in the world rather than telling us about the good things happening in the world. I was at a new church assignment for 2 weeks. The church was holding a vacation Bible school program. Now, this church was set in the west side of the city of York, Pennsylvania, and I was thrilled to see that so many kids were there from the city. The program was excellent, and the people who put it together did a fantastic job. On the second day of Vacation Bible School week, some person or persons decided to put some graffiti on the church. Today, I don't know who called the local news broadcast, but Channel 8 of Lancaster showed up at the church. I don't remember the name of the anchor who came in and talked to me, but I can tell you that he had questions to do with the graffiti. I asked him if he would cover the Vacation Bible School that we were holding for kids in the west side of the city, because it was far more important than giving airtime to someone, or I should say some unknown person, because they decided to put graffiti on a church. I was not surprised that the anchor's answer. That anchor said to me that he only reported on bad news. Why did the only thing he report was bad news? Well, it's believed by news organizations that people will only listen to the broadcast if you're telling them about bad things happening in life. By doing that, we never get to hear much about the good things that are happening. Now, I will admit that every so often a good story comes across. But when you look at the ratio of bad stories to good stories, bad stories win. The parable tells us that there are 3 ways for the sinner. There is only one way for righteousness. Jesus wants us to follow that one path that leads to righteousness. It is something that each of us has to decide on our own. However, if you call yourself a follower of Jesus Christ, then you want to follow Jesus' way. You would like to become the good soil so that Jesus can plant seeds in you so that you could become righteous. Of course, Jesus is planting the seeds virtually, and it's actually because of us, each of our attitudes toward his teaching, that we become righteous. Those are the actual seeds, is his teaching. Therefore, I believe that if you want to be righteous, you need to become receptive to the seeds of truth and knowledge that Jesus will plant inside of you. If you are not on the path to righteousness, I highly suggest that you do that. I really think it's important and it's necessary for individual salvation. An individual can't change the world. However, an individual could change their own destiny. Maybe your destiny is to be in heaven with Jesus. Thank you for listening to this message. I hope it blesses you in some way. And as always, Shalom.